prayers you whisper in your darkest moments are not ignored? What if heaven truly listens when a broken heart cries out in faith? And what if the Mary Novena Prayer is not just an old religious tradition, but a spiritual lifeline that has carried millions of people through pain, fear, grief, and hopelessness? For centuries, believers around the world have prayed novenas to the Virgin Mary. Some claim they experienced miracles after completing 9 days of prayer. Others say their anxiety disappeared. Some say they found peace after years of suffering. And yet many people still ask the same question. What is the real truth about the Mary Novena Prayer? Is it biblical? Is it powerful? Is it misunderstood? Or is it simply emotional comfort for hurting people? Tonight, we are uncovering the truth behind one of the most emotional and controversial devotions in Christianity. And before this video ends, you may see prayer in a completely different way. Because the truth is far deeper than most people realize. The Mary Novena Prayer is not really about repeating words. It is about surrender. It is about faith during uncertainty. It is about hope when life feels impossible. And most importantly, it is about the desperate cry of the human heart searching for peace. Many people think novena prayers are magical formulas. They believe that if someone repeats the same prayer for 9 days, God is somehow forced to answer. But that is not the original meaning of a novena at all. The word novena comes from the Latin word meaning 9. Traditionally, a novena is a prayer repeated for 9 consecutive days with deep focus and intention. Christians have practiced novenas for centuries as a way of remaining spiritually committed during difficult moments. And when it comes to Mary novenas, believers are not worshiping Mary as God. That is one of the biggest misunderstandings in the world today. The real belief is that Mary prays with them and for them. Just like people ask family members, pastors, or friends to pray on their behalf, many Christians ask the Virgin Mary to intercede before Jesus Christ. For believers, Mary represents compassion, purity, tenderness, and spiritual motherhood. And when people feel abandoned by the world, they often turn toward a motherly presence. That emotional connection is one reason the Mary Novena Prayer continues to survive generation after generation. Because pain makes people search for comfort. And prayer gives people a place to pour out emotions they cannot explain to anyone else. Think about how many people secretly suffer every day. A mother crying over her sick child. A father struggling to provide for his family. A person fighting depression in silence. Someone grieving after losing a loved one. A teenager battling loneliness. A couple watching their marriage collapse. The world is filled with hidden pain. And sometimes people reach a moment where human advice no longer helps. Friends cannot fix it. Money cannot heal it. Distractions cannot erase it. And in those moments, prayer becomes deeply personal. Not performance. Not religion for show. But raw honesty before heaven. That is the truth many critics fail to understand. Most people praying novenas are not trying to appear holy. They are simply desperate for hope. And desperation changes the human heart. When everything else collapses, people begin searching for something eternal. That is why prayer has existed in nearly every civilization throughout history. Human beings naturally search for meaning beyond themselves. Now let's address another important truth. Many people believe the Mary Novena Prayer guarantees miracles. And yes, there are countless testimonies online from people who believe their prayers were answered. Some say they recovered from illness. Some say financial doors opened unexpectedly. Others say broken relationships were restored. But the deeper truth is this. Prayer is not a vending machine. You cannot insert 9 days of prayer and demand a specific outcome from God. Real faith does not work like magic. Sometimes the answer to prayer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes the answer is wait. That reality frustrates many people. But authentic faith is not built on controlling God. It is built on trusting Him even during uncertainty. And here is something powerful many people discover during a novena. The greatest miracle is not always external. Sometimes the greatest miracle happens inside the person praying. Fear slowly becomes peace. Anger softens. Bitterness fades. Anxiety weakens. Faith grows stronger. And the person who began the novena emotionally broken often ends it spiritually transformed. That kind of transformation is real. Even psychologists and researchers have studied the effects of prayer and meditation on the human mind. Studies have shown that focused prayer can reduce stress, calm emotional chaos, and create feelings of emotional stability. Why? Because prayer forces the mind to slow down, to breathe, to reflect, to release fear. And when someone spends 9 days consistently praying, thinking, reflecting, and surrendering their pain, something begins changing internally. Their heart becomes quieter. Their spirit becomes steadier. Their thoughts become less chaotic. That does not mean every problem instantly disappears. But many believers say prayer gives them strength to survive what once felt impossible. And honestly, that strength alone can feel miraculous. Now here is another truth that is rarely discussed openly. The image of Mary carries emotional power because many people long for unconditional love. In a world filled with rejection, criticism, betrayal, and emotional emptiness, the idea of a compassionate spiritual mother becomes deeply comforting. For centuries, artists have painted Mary with gentle eyes, open arms, and peaceful expressions because she symbolizes mercy and comfort to believers. People do not run toward compassion because they are weak. They run toward compassion because they are wounded. And wounds make people search for healing. This is why millions continue praying the rosary and novenas despite criticism from skeptics. Because prayer gives hurting people hope that they are not abandoned. And hope is powerful. Without hope, the human soul slowly collapses. Look around the modern world. Technology has advanced. Social media dominates culture. Artificial intelligence grows more powerful every year. But despite all this progress, anxiety and loneliness continue rising everywhere. People are connected online yet emotionally disconnected inside. Many laugh publicly while suffering privately. Many smile for pictures while fighting darkness mentally. And during these silent battles, prayer often becomes the last refuge for exhausted hearts. That is why ancient prayers still survive in modern times. Because human pain has not disappeared. Now let's talk about one of the biggest misconceptions surrounding Mary novenas. Some people believe novenas are superstitious rituals. They think if someone misses a day, says the wrong words, or forgets part of the prayer, God will become angry. But authentic prayer is not about perfection. It is about sincerity. God does not listen only to polished religious language. Sometimes the most powerful prayer is a simple cry from a broken heart. Many people today are spiritually exhausted because they think faith means pretending to be perfect. But real faith often begins when a person finally admits they are struggling. That honesty matters. And throughout history, many believers who prayed novenas were not spiritually perfect people. They were grieving people. Fearful people. Broken people. Desperate people. People searching for light during dark seasons. The real truth about the Mary Novena prayer is that it gives people spiritual structure during emotional chaos. 9 days create commitment. 9 days create discipline. 9 days create reflection. And during those days, many people reconnect with faith in ways they never expected. Now does that mean every emotional experience during prayer comes directly from heaven? Not necessarily. Human emotions are complex. Sometimes people feel emotional simply because they are finally slowing down and confronting their pain honestly. But even that can become spiritually meaningful. Because modern life constantly distracts people from their inner struggles. Phones distract them. Entertainment distracts them. Noise distracts them. But prayer forces silence. And silence reveals the condition of the heart. That is one reason many people cry while praying. Not because prayer is weak, but because truth finally surfaces. Pain surfaces. Fear surfaces. Loneliness surfaces. And once those emotions are released, healing can begin. Many believers also say Mary Novenas help them feel spiritually protected during fearful moments. Whether facing illness, uncertainty, or emotional warfare, prayer creates a sense of connection to God that calms the soul. And peace during chaos is incredibly valuable. Especially in today's world. Now some critics ask an important question. If Jesus is enough, why pray to Mary at all? For Catholics and many traditional Christians, the answer is simple. They believe Mary always leads people closer to Jesus, not away from him. In their understanding, Mary's role is not to replace Christ but to point believers toward him. That distinction matters. And regardless of denominational differences, one undeniable truth remains. Millions of people have found emotional comfort through these prayers for generations. That reality cannot simply be ignored. Even among people who struggle with religion, prayer often reappears during moments of crisis. Why? Because suffering strips away human pride. When people face death, heartbreak, fear, or loss, they begin asking deeper questions about life, purpose, eternity, and God. And prayer becomes the language of those questions. Now here is another important truth. The Mary Novena prayer should never become manipulation. Unfortunately, the internet is filled with misleading messages saying things like, "Share this prayer with 10 people or bad luck will follow. If you ignore this novena, blessings will leave your life." That fear-based manipulation is not genuine faith. Real prayer is not spiritual blackmail. God is not controlled through chain messages or superstition. Authentic faith is based on trust, not panic. And many people need to hear this clearly. You do not need perfect words for God to hear you. You do not need dramatic performances. You do not need public attention. Some of the deepest prayers happen silently through tears nobody else sees. Another reason Mary Novenas remain powerful for many believers is because repetition itself creates focus. Modern culture trains people to constantly multitask. Attention spans shrink daily. Minds race endlessly. But repetitive prayer slows everything down. It creates stillness. And stillness allows reflection. That reflection can become transformative. People begin examining their lives honestly. Their relationships. Their fears. Their habits. Their spiritual condition. And during that process, many discover truths about themselves they had ignored for years. That is why novenas sometimes change lives even when circumstances remain difficult. Because inner transformation changes how people respond to suffering. A fearful person may become courageous. A bitter person may become forgiving. A hopeless person may rediscover faith. And those changes affect entire families, relationships, and futures. Now let's discuss something deeply human. Many people who pray novenas are not looking for theology debates. They are looking for comfort. A woman battling cancer does not care about internet arguments. A grieving father does not care about online mockery. A lonely teenager searching for hope does not care about religious politics. People in pain simply want reassurance that they are not alone. And prayer gives them that reassurance. Whether someone fully understands every doctrine or not, the emotional reality of prayer remains powerful. Because prayer reminds people that darkness is not the end of the story. That hope still exists. That love still exists. That heaven may still be listening. And maybe that is why millions continue lighting candles, whispering novenas, and praying through tears generation after generation. Not because life is easy, but because life is hard. The real truth about the Mary Novena Prayer is not found only in miracles or answered requests. It is found in the human need for hope. It is found in the exhausted mother still praying after midnight. It is found in the lonely soul searching for peace. It is found in broken people refusing to completely give up. And perhaps that is why these prayers continue surviving through centuries of war, suffering, persecution, and doubt. Because faith survives where hopelessness fails. Now imagine this for a moment. A person begins a novena feeling completely shattered. They are anxious, afraid, emotionally exhausted. They feel forgotten. But day after day they continue praying. Not because they are certain, but because a small part of them still hopes heaven hears them. And slowly something changes. Maybe not instantly. Maybe not dramatically. But quietly. Peace begins entering where fear once ruled. Strength begins replacing despair. And even if their situation remains difficult, they no longer feel completely alone. That is the spiritual power many believers describe. Not magic. Not superstition. But relationship. Hope. Trust. Perseverance. And surrender. The world today desperately needs peace. Not fake peace built on distractions. Real peace. The kind that remains during storms. And for millions of believers, prayer becomes the doorway to that peace. So what is the real truth about the Mary Novena Prayer? The truth is this. It is not about controlling God. It is not about superstition. It is not about empty repetition. It is about opening the heart during moments of fear and suffering. It is about staying faithful when life becomes painful. It is about searching for light in darkness. And sometimes, it is about discovering that even in silence, you were never truly alone. Maybe miracles still happen. Maybe heaven still listens. Maybe prayer changes things in ways human eyes cannot fully understand. Or maybe the greatest miracle is that prayer changes the human heart itself. And honestly, a transformed heart can change an entire life. So tonight, if you are struggling, if you are exhausted, if fear has consumed your mind, if loneliness has been crushing your spirit, do not lose hope. Whether you whisper one prayer or 1,000, whether your faith feels strong or weak, whether your heart feels confident or broken, keep praying. Because sometimes the people closest to their breakthrough are the ones who almost gave up. And perhaps the real purpose of the Mary Novena Prayer was never merely about asking for miracles. Perhaps it was about reminding hurting souls that faith still matters, hope still matters, and love is still stronger than despair. If this message touched your heart, take a moment to reflect quietly tonight. And remember this. Even during your darkest night, a small light can still guide you home. If you believe prayer still has power, type Amen in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful faith-filled messages.